Hello, this is Chapter 57, the Lexicon of the Great Pause. What I wanted to take a moment to do is pause and talk about this new wave of being that is coming into our experience. It's being referred to as the Great Pause, which I like, but at the same time it's already being overused and becoming this idiom, this lexicon of today's culture, in such a way that it's really losing its impact, its meaning. Because to me, the Great Pause is a gift. It's an amazing opportunity to find yourself, a closer relationship with yourself. Know that you are a creator being. For those of you who know me, you know that I also go by the pseudonym Anna Komorebi, with Anna spelled A-N-A, which is Arabic for I, and Komorebi is Japanese for the light that shines through the leaves of trees. On the way here, I wanted to find a more unique way to address the topic of the Great Pause, so I asked for guidance. And as I was driving to this place where I love to be, I looked up and saw the street sign, and the street sign is Annadel, A-N-N-A-D-E-L, Heights. And although mine is spelled slightly differently, Annadel Heights, Anna of the Heights. So let's talk about the heights of frequency, the higher realms of energy expression, of what gives us the opportunity to be immediate manifestors, creators of our experience. Let me actually just show you this amazing view behind me as well. This is why it's called Annadel Heights, because you get this great view of the mountains and the valley just below this particular hill range or mountain range. But the Great Pause, without spending a lot of time in detail, I just ask that you consider the possibility that you are more than just your body, that this global experience hasn't really been one caused by or for the purpose of what it's being, the proponent of what it's being expressed to be. It is a gift, as well as the reality of what is happening, but it is a gift. It's offering everyone the opportunity to take a beat, to take that pause, to spend more time with your family, to, be more creative if you're an artist, or, there was that book you wanted to write, or that website you wanted to create, or just get closer to your thoughts, to your spirituality. I have. And I can actually feel the palpability of this wave of energy that has been finding its way through this particular area of Northern California. And I know that there are people across the world who are experiencing something very similar. I have friends who are talking about the same things that I think, which is that this is a gift, that it is, put it this way, if you were Mother Earth and you wanted things to get back in balance, what would you do that would cause the least damage, but at the same time create the most long-term gain? If you were the creator, God, whatever you want to call that, and you wanted to, you'd given people enough time to find their way, you'd given them millennia, and yet all that you now saw were those with and those without. Where's the true balance in that? There is a balance, but it's off balance. And you gave them the opportunity to find their own way, and then you said, enough is enough. It's time to give everyone that beat. Because when you're in the day-to-day, in the grind, in the rat race, in the 9 to 5, whatever you want to call that, you are so busy, working, sleeping, eating, paying bills, or if you're in school, going to school, being mind-fucked by, all the rules and regulations and other people making choices for you. But you also know that if you do X, Y, and Z, you're told that you will have success. You will have abundance. You will have this kind of life or that kind of life. And although that it doesn't work for everyone, because there are people in certain locations where it's virtually impossible for them to get ahead in that kind of an environment, it still does work in basic principle. So people follow that mold and they won't get out of it because they want, they want abundance, they want security, they want foundation, they want insurance, they want to know that they're going to be secure in their old age, that their family's going to be taken care of, and that, more money, more material things, more this, more that, because there's always more. There's more technology being created, more of everything always being brought into this experience. So to feed that, we've become a certain kind of world, a world culture, with certain people being more leaders and others being more followers, but yet we're all followers. So that isn't what we're here for. At least that's not my perception. So if you have the luxury, as I have created for myself in the last few years, to live a life where you're outside the system, you have a way of bringing income and abundance to you that is an exchange kind of way, and what you do to make the money that you need is done online, so you can be anywhere. You have much time to explore your energetic side, and it's there that I have been privy to what exists, and it's infinite, and we are creators, and I manifest into my everyday exactly what I need, and I am sent where I need to be to support and help others, which is what I really like to do. And in the doing, I get things for myself in exchange that I've been looking for, usually experiences, resources, it really depends. But the world that we have been taught to live in doesn't, we're not allowing ourselves to take full advantage of what we can create as frequential energetic beings. So with everything stopped, it gives us the opportunity to explore that if we are willing to suspend disbelief. And it also, I believe, brings into focus that all of these systems that we, fought for, that, folks, say are tried and true, they will always be there for you, and if you follow these certain principles, it will work for you. Well, those are all crumbling, aren't they? One by one, we're finding that they weren't really there to begin with. So were they really real? Or were we being fooled into believing that they were real? Well, now we're having the time to really explore that. So I invite you to step into your great pause with an open mind, an open heart, and see what's really possible. Go for a walk. Go into a beautiful place like this. And if you don't have one, go into one in a book, in a video, however you want to get there. Because we are here for so much more than we have been given the opportunity for so far in this material world. But when you have the time, like we all have now, we can literally discover who we really are. And we are frequential creator beings. I'll leave it there. Hello, this is a supplement to Chapter 57, the Lexicon of the Great Pause. I realized after I finished that recording and I watched it back just to see if I captured everything that I really wanted to cover. I hadn't even brushed the surface. And I probably never will, because it took me years to get to where I am, and it's really hard to explain using the limitation of words what I'm really trying to say. But what I wanted to do was to just take another beat, take a pause, and speak just for a moment about what do I mean by frequency and creation, and how can we use this time that we now have to explore this further? It's really easy. I think that the majority of people believe in something higher than ourselves, whether that is a God or energy, whether you're a scientist or religious or spiritual, it doesn't really matter. And if you don't, then you believe in yourself. So belief is part of our makeup as human creations. We are, in essence, consciousness. That consciousness is an energy form. It's intelligence in energy form. Everything is energy, and as such, it vibrates. It vibrates at a frequency that, if you look deeply into what frequency is, whether it's light frequency, sound frequency, or just atoms and cells, and even smaller still, you see that everything vibrates, and it is that vibration that creates the illusion of form, of solidity, I guess I should say. Because when something vibrates at a certain frequency, it attracts the like. So let's just take an organ like our heart. The physicality of our heart is created by atoms, cells, smaller and larger, that join together through the process of frequency vibration, because they're attracted like magnets, and so they vibrate close to others of like kind, and they create collectives. Those collectives then vibrate at a collective resonance, and those collectives attract other collectives that vibrate at the same or a near frequency. And the more that happens, the collective gets to be another level of collective, another group, and another level of collective, and another level of collective, until you literally have what I would call the shape of a heart in form, by going from the small to the larger, and they each vibrating individually, collectively, until something of form is manifest, appears evident. Yet it isn't real in the fact that it is a form, and form is an illusion, scientifically an illusion, spiritually an illusion. But it is what we create so that we have this density of form to experience this thing we call life. In this thing we call life, we've either chosen it, or we end up here. We're here for lessons, or we're just here for the pleasure of it. I mean, I don't know. Do you? Does anybody really? And if they do, are they really telling the truth? So, looking at it from that view, that form is really matter, is really an illusion. It's consciousness. It's the energy that is real. And so when you vibrate at certain frequencies, you create certain reality experiences, because, as I said, like frequencies vibrate and attract others of the same, whether it's thoughts or lifestyles, or physical things like rocks and people and cars, which I'm sitting in. So without going off on a tangent on that, if you're willing to suspend disbelief and consider that, if you're a scientist, you already know this. If you're a theologian, you may even really know this. But the average person doesn't know this, and would probably poo-poo it because they were never taught that. And there's a reason for that. You're not taught that because those that know don't want you to recognize the power of your beingness, your consciousness, that you actually are creating the form that you're in. You're creating the experiences that you have, because your thoughts also are energetic, and they attract in the same way that cells attract to other cells of like kind, create collectives, and then those collectives join together and create collectives, and on until you end up in universes and galaxies and things like that. I mean, think of an astronaut who looks at the Earth as this little dot. He knows that it is just the same to him in space there as we might look in a microscope at an atom. So think about that for a second. So back to manifesting an energy and why the average person doesn't know these things. Well, you're going to have to go back thousands of years, but I learned today, for example, that an archangel, starts with a C. I'll have to put it down below here. There's an archangel who is not mentioned in the Bible, and it was banned by the Vatican. Several of them were angels were banned from the Vatican from being mentioned or references to them in the Bible being allowed. So come on. I mean, it doesn't even matter what the name of this archangel is. It's the fact that in that religion, if you believe that religion, then how can principles be changed because they just decide that they don't like the way that it might give people the idea that there are other principles at play here? That means that your truth exists, but only the way that it is the powers that be want it to be in existence. So take, the news and the media. What you hear and what you see is what is wanted for you to hear and see. In other words, whoever owns those stations, their power comes from wealth, and that wealth is tied to political means, and those politicians, in order to keep their jobs and get reelected and then have power once they're in their jobs, it's so on and so on and so on, you have to kowtow or cater to those in power. So those in power know how they keep their power. The rich stay rich by a variety of means, and some of them in this world of form include things like setting up corporations and trusts and other things so that everything in their personal life is protected. And they live outside the system, but they don't teach these things to the average person because they don't want you to know. The educational system was created by the Rockefellers, and in the 1800s, I think, he got together with a bunch of other families of power and said, listen, this may not benefit us in our generation, but in our lineage for generations to come, they will be able to benefit from this if we decide what's going to be taught, if we act as a guide to show people they should be going this way or that way. And so systems were set up, and more systems were set up, and more systems were set up until we live in the world that we do today, where governments are trying to infiltrate every human living being and culture to say that, let's say, so that they can basically have a say in how things are done, because eventually that becomes political power and clout, etc., so that you're controlling the world's population. So we get up, we go to school, we go to work, we eat, we sleep, we do what's expected of us because we're all taught the dream that, if you work really hard, you'll have this kind of a life, this X kind of a life. And so everyone believes that if they do what they're told, if they follow all these rules, that they will end up in this life. They won't look beyond that. They won't take that beat. And that's what we now have, is that beat, to explore the possibility that what you've been told is not all that there is. Not that it's right, not that it's wrong. I'm not here to judge, and frankly, judging does nothing. I'm not here to talk about the issue, and you know what the issue is, because I don't give it attention. My feeling is this: if you add to that conversation, you are joining that vibration, that frequency. I keep my frequency at a really high level. I have been gifted with something called the frequency of unconditional love. I had an experience on August the 14th of 2016 that followed an experience of a near-death experience that I had, at least according to my son, where he said that I would look like I was going through a seizure when I, from my perspective, was experiencing this outside of time experience. And I couldn't find my way back. And eventually I found my way back. And I've talked about it many times. So I've had these experiences that provide evidence for me that there is so much more than we are taught in, in church, synagogue, temple, in, whatever your spiritual following is, in school, in jobs. We all have been so regulated, systematized, that we've stopped searching. And now let's go back to what I said in the other video. Let's say that you are a higher intelligence, maybe even the author of this experience, and you are watching it play out as the observer. So now imagine that your creation has gone astray and they don't see the possibilities of who they are and what they can do. Course correction. Course correction. So here we are. And that is what I believe this great pause really is. And I like the phrase. I don't like how it's being bastardized in culture and how it will continue to be for economic reasons, for social reasons, to look cool, to make money. Okay, go ahead, knock yourself out. But it's a gift for us to roll outside of that system. Think for ourselves. Explore for ourselves. Open up to what's possible. And maybe, just maybe, you will open to the possibility, allow yourself to consider that you create your reality, that you have innate sovereign power from birth to create whatever's in your imagination. That imagination isn't just imagination, it is a creation tool. That there's just more. And I will leave it to you because I could go on and on. But again, I don't want to go off on a wrong tangent. I just wanted to supplement what I said so that you can get an additional peek at what I'm really talking about. And if you're interested, maybe I'll come back and talk to you about ways that you can do that, because there are lots of people who talk about that. Many of them do it for money. I do it because I know I don't need money. I don't need money. You're finding that, look at where we are now. Where has money got you? Where has all these rules gotten you? Not very far. And it's like all of a sudden this halt makes you realize that it's not as dependable as you thought. So what can you depend on? You can depend on you. One more thing. If everybody was willing to suspend disbelief and hold their frequency high, and by that I mean feel joy. Think of a moment that you had from the time you were born till now where you just were excited and thrilled, or in love, or had passion for something, or were just so calm and content that you felt one with everything for that millisecond. Go there. If everybody could hold their frequency there, that would then attract more of the same and more of the same and more of the same, till literally there would be what I feel is this turning point where instead of the world functioning the way that it does now, it would open to an energetic possibility that we don't yet have the human capacity to imagine, because we haven't evolved to that place yet. So let's evolve. Keep your frequency high. Try to stay away from those things that make you nervous, that, push your buttons to the best of your ability. And when you find that your buttons do get pushed, then that's okay. Take a beat, as you're learning now, and find your way back to that frequency, to Annadel Heights, the height of who you are. Anna means I. The heights, I of the heights. That was the spiritual message given to me today. I of the heights. What else is there to say? I'm going to go now. Have a wonderful day. Take care. Thank you for listening.